Hi, Jules here. Welcome to part 2 with Michael Klim, where we begin at the moment everything changed. 2020, where he was diagnosed with CIDP. What follows is a story of identity, resilience, and the kind of reinvention most of us hope we never have to face. But this is also where Michael shows what success really looks like. Not the medals, not the records, but the mindset. The ability to adapt, to stay curious, and to keep moving when life forces you to start again. This is Michael like you've never heard him before, and it's a powerful reminder that success isn't just about what you achieve. It's about who you become when the plan breaks. In 2020, Michael, your life changed dramatically. You were diagnosed with CIDP, and I'm going to try and pronounce this, chronic inflammatory demyelinating polyneuropathy. How's that?
Yeah, very good. You did very well.
And this is just for our listeners. It's a rare autoimmune disorder that causes chronic pain and loss of sensation and muscle weakness, particularly in the legs. Is that right?
Yeah, particularly with me, it's just in the legs. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, you had such a public, physically based identity, and I know we just spoke about that transition, but you are still known as Michael Klim, Olympic swimmer. How did you cope and deal with the change of rebuilding your identity?
Well, in short answer is not really well, and I struggled. Probably, in a private setting, and I didn't kind of expose a lot of those tough times until recently, until I obviously documented them in a book. But it was really tough because for a very long time, I was still, even after the Milk and Co exit, I was still training really hard. I was still sort of flying between two countries and trying to drive whatever businesses I had left, and I was really not listening to my body, not only physically but mentally. And there were, some personal circumstances occurred, and I, this is just prior to the diagnosis, and I think it was a lesson that made me realize that my identity. This was a lesson that I realized that my identity wasn't just based around Michael Klim the swimmer, because I started resenting everything in life. I started resenting myself. I started resenting everything around me. I was angry. I felt hard done by. I thought I didn't deserve the card that I was dealt, and I didn't look after myself, and I lost myself. And all the things that I used to love in life, from movement to music to art to socializing, I stopped doing, and I became a recluse. I drank too much. I didn't exercise enough. I was just keeping up appearances, and but internally I was grieving, and I didn't come to terms with that for over 2 years, and it was probably actually 2.5 years, almost to the day, and it was a really tough time, because the moment I accepted that this is life moving forward and this is my new norm, and I then there was a few kind of life-changing moments where I was approached by Lifeblood to be their ambassador, and then there was a couple other opportunities that came up, and the tide slowly started turning, where I started, rather than receiving and taking and all this adulation and wanting all these things that I was expecting from before, I started realizing that by me coming out and talking about my condition and the mental, health and the hardships that I had gone through, and vocalizing them, I was actually going to be helping a lot of others. And because of this condition being so rare, I was inundated with messages of support and love, and it sort of gave me this fuel to be, and I guess um, an advocate for this condition in Australia, and also to drive the cause with Lifeblood, which is so close to my heart, obviously, because all my treatment is derived from blood products. So, and it started feeling good, step by step.
Awesome.
I started implementing movement into my day and eating better, gave up the booze and all this sort of
Yeah.
and now if I look at this person that, that was kind of, I would be stuck in my room because we had a single story home, and, I just wouldn't want to come downstairs because I couldn't walk
Yeah.
unaided. I was always tired. And but I was able to take control of things like I did in my sporting career, like I did in
Yeah.
business. And the moment I started doing those things, I mean, it's hard to even comprehend, to tell you how things have changed. Now I'm just mixing with rock stars and in backstage with. No, I'm just joking, but that's how come sometimes I think about it.
Yes.
I've gone from, being in miserable, depressed
Yeah.
person, hating on the things that I used to love, to, being able to be in a campaign with Metallica
Oh
promoting
yeah.
the importance of blood donation. And and no one judges me for the lack of my calf muscles,
Oh.
and no one judges me for that stuff, and it's
Yeah.
great that it's actually been very transformative. And I get emotional about it every day.
Yeah.
So and I'm lucky that people have been so open and receptive, and it's, my condition is an autoimmune one, but it could apply to anything. It could apply to,
Absolutely.
and not a medical, it doesn't have to be a medical condition. We all go through some kind of trauma in our life. We all lose ourselves and we feel hopeless. But there is, I guess, what I tried to convey in my book was that, there is light at the end of the tunnel. There is people out there to help you. There is resources. And, step by step, you can dig yourself out of it. And, but you are ultimately in charge of that. You can't rely on other people to pull you out. And here we are chatting. So who would have thought?
Absolutely. And look, I would 100% agree. I think we can choose which way we look at it. And this was just a perfect example when you chose gratitude and, you know what, positivity and actually moving forward with this, your life changed. Not only did you, get more mobility, but also the way you look at things. And no one does judge it. They're our own demons, aren't they? Where we think, we're not good enough, or, this is a limiting factor. I just think our mental state is the number one key driver in how successful or, what we achieve in life.
Absolutely. And that's and even, like it made me reassess my, even, I used to beat myself up a bit about those statistics that you
Yeah.
read out earlier, because there was a lot of seconds in there and there was a lot of thirds, and those,
Wow.
and as and as an athlete, I wanted all of those to be gold, and
Yeah.
and then I knew for a long time that my best was good enough, and I always felt that I didn't really, I had some, not unfinished business, but I didn't achieve what I could have. But I think about it now. It's such a silly, immature notion to think that my value is based on the color of a medal or an outcome of a
Yeah.
race. So I think my swimming journey has definitely shaped me into a certain person,
Yeah.
and and I've, good times, bad times, and what have you. But I think my identity is not definitely, relying on that color
Yeah.
ultimately.
And our identity is never shaped by our achievements, is it? It's actually who we are and what we do, and what we can also
Yeah,
bring for others, I think. So I think that's such an
absolutely.
incredible lesson. Do you think that resilience is something you can train for? Do you think you can train for that mental strength, or do you think it's just something people are born with?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think this whole new ice bath craze has been a great example of that.
Yeah.
People, people who would willingly submerge themselves in 5-degree water.
Yeah.
And look, it is a. I think it's been actually neurologically proven that resilience is a. I think is a. I don't know the specific medical term, but that it is almost like a muscle that you can train over and over again, and it's almost like it's like when swimmers or athletes push themselves to a pain threshold limit,
Yeah.
and they think that is the limit, but you can actually continue pushing yourself beyond, and that state of uncomfortable feeling, if it's muscular or emotional, if you can endure that for a little bit longer each single time, I think that gives you confidence, and then that gives you resilience for the next time, and it's just like a building block that you can, I think you can. Yeah, I would not go outside, because I was, again, that self bit that self-awareness, and I was always embarrassed of people look at me with a walking stick, and me stumbling around, and for me, even my self-esteem, building a resilience around that has been a process, but I've managed
Yeah.
to now, I take off my socks and I think how lucky the people are to see my beautiful toes in the gym, even though I don't care.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree
It's a
more.
privilege.
So tell me, Michael, what advice would you give to anyone wanting to follow a dream or a goal?
I think probably just I'll kind of try and summarize
Yeah.
what I've spoken about
Yeah.
so far, because I can only talk from experience,
Yeah.
and for me, definitely you have to be prepared to work hard, and there is just no. I mean, we see these overnight success stories, and there is some people get lucky, win the lottery, but I mean, that doesn't apply
No.
very often. So I think for me, there is always that comes first and foremost, and I think that is that, and then what we just touched on, that resilience and perseverance through. There is a book that I read. My business mentor gave me this book called "The Hard Thing About Hard Things."
Oh,
I
wow.
forgot
Okay.
who it's by, but if you wanted to,
That's all
if you
right.
want something to put you to sleep really quickly, but you can get that on an audio book.
Yeah.
It's really it's about the GFC, and how
Oh,
some of uh, the bankers they literally they would push themselves to levels where it's physically and mentally not feasible to stay awake for that long, and continue coming back day after day there was just the story of how they've managed to overcome some of their that whole period. But for me, it's the same thing. It's just being able to come back and bounce back after I had a bunch of surgeries on my shoulder and my back,
mm,
and then it's reassessing where are you in terms of your values, your weaknesses, your strengths. So I was very data driven, and even though now it hasn't been as much, but before I would document everything, my sleep, my weight, my
yeah.
session. So you're educating yourself on making better decisions every single day. I mean, these things are amazing. I mean, like
Yes.
so I think as humans, I think we can. There's so many things that have been streamlined for us, but I
Mm,
think there's the hard work you can't go without.
yeah.
I think you have to continually think outside of the box, and not just follow, which is the
Yeah.
example of what me following Alex Popov, and then continue evolving and finding your own path, and I. And business was a harder lesson than swimming. And
Yeah.
you're going to get 99 knockbacks when you get until you get that one big win. And it's ultimately how much how much it is part of your identity, and if it's an insatiable kind of drive, then you'll keep going. And the fact now that I'm almost as energized about
Wow.
the foundation, about getting back into skincare, and even Klim Swim, which is found this the second lease on life in Bali, um, and it's that just comes from we talked about the resilience that gets built up
Yeah.
over time, finding that passion, the drive, and constantly evolving.
Oh, that's fantastic. I love that. Now you did touch on it, but please let's, for the listeners out there, we mentioned that you are part of the foundation
Mm.
for
Mm.
raising funds for CIDP.
Yeah.
I will put the links on there, but do you want to tell us anything about what that is? I know it supports anyone who is going through it, but also families as well, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Um, So when I did an interview with Lisa Wilkinson, just like
Yeah.
yourself,
Yeah.
and I announced my condition on the project, I think within a day I had like 500
Wow.
messages and emails, and from other sufferers and other caretakers and families, and or just people just wanting me to help, wanting to give help and support, and I was prepared for it to a degree, but not probably to that level. And I felt that I went through a very sort of through this condition because it's so rare. There's about only about 3,000 of us currently in Australia
Oh,
with
okay.
CIDP.
Wow.
The rate of diagnosis is very much increasing with some of the work that everyone is doing out there. But there is very little protocol when it comes to treatment and recovery. There is limited also treatment options. We don't know why it occurs. So
Okay.
the myelinating is when the sheath around your nerves start to kind of look like a porcupine a little bit, and
Oh,
that
wow.
signal
Okay.
doesn't get sent properly. So it is when your own tissue is attacking its other own tissue, and it is the myelin sheath in this case.
Yeah.
And so we don't know why it happens, and we don't actually, until that point, we're not going to get any closer to a cure.
Mm.
But there is a lot of things that I struggle with, that we managed to through self exploration, but also through the team that I was able to tap into, make life easier for myself. So I got a really good AFO, which is an ankle and foot
Okay.
orthosis, and it helped me. I still coach about 4 or 5 hours a day on my feet,
Wow.
so I've got a fake calf muscle.
Wow.
Um, and also I experimented with some different diets and lifestyle choices. I mean, I can't express to you how, shifting that mindset and,
Mm.
thinking about more the goodness I put in my body, and rather than, trying to, drown sorrows or whatever it might be. I think I experimented with carnivore diets and things like that. So the
Yeah, right.
foundation gives some insight into different protocols, and will support obviously with backed research for anyone that's going through that journey, but also through counseling and that level of support as well. We provide all the latest research with all the different studies
Amazing.
and medical tests that are happening at the moment, which there are a few, which is promising,
Yeah.
and also
Awesome.
funding. So if because NDIS is a limiting kind of network for us, because it is so where it is so rare. There are families out there that can't afford the latest AFOs, or struggle to get to their infusions, or typically one of the person diagnosed has to stop working. So families are affected, and they lose
Yeah.
one income in the family. So the consequences can be huge, and that's why
Absolutely.
Michelle and myself felt if we can start a foundation that can help anyone through that journey of initially of that diagnosis. So we've created a patient handbook, but then moving forward through the treatment and how they can best manage that. And we've created a directory of different services they can tap into, and then ultimately funding for certain specific needs which they can apply for. But then ultimately the big one is down the track when we start rocking and rolling. Hopefully we can start funding some research, and ultimately one day we want to get close to finding a cure. So the klimfoundation.org.au is where you got to head, and all that information will be out there.
Absolutely. I'll put it in the show notes as well. Sure, I think it would only be fair if the Foo Fighters came and got a fake tattoo and supported the Klim.
Exactly. Get the Klim Foundation logo on there on the next album.
Yeah, absolutely. Now you've also got a book out, Klim, so they can look out for that, and which is an autobiography about all of the things we've spoken about today, but so much more and in so much more depth, which is an amazing story. So highly recommend that. And again, I will put all these notes, these links in the show notes. And also,
definitely go into more organized rumble than sort of just put together. Then it's if you're a swimming fan, there is a lot of swimming stuff in there.
Awesome.
If you want to read the book from a personal growth point of view, it's got a I think hopefully my story now from sport to business and now to wellness is I've been able to, I feel like there's a fine balance depending on what you're after.
Well, I think ultimately you have a really good understanding, or a natural knack maybe even, about how to make things work, whether it be in business or swimming or whatever it is. And it might be the tenacity. It's obviously a combination, but it would be great for people to read about that too and see that thread in your book. So that's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can get it either on my website, or you can just go to #A and it's stocked through there. But if you go to michaelklim.com, there's a link to the book on there as well.
Brilliant. And finally, very exciting, Klimmer, the new skincare range. Give us a little brief about that one too.
Oh, look, this is not the skincare range. It's just my drink bottle.
Okay.
But that's the logo.
It's got Klimmer on it.
Yeah, that's right. It's Klimmer on it. Well, through a mutual friend, I've been in the amenities game for quite some time now, and through, I guess, my newfound passion for wellness and understanding the new wellness travel habits of people that are, holidaying or traveling for work. I felt I had, especially when I was traveling recently with my chronic condition, I've got a few non-negotiables from making sure there's certain gyms, or having the best amenities in the hotel, and certain dietary kind of requirements. So this whole wellness kind of revolution has swept me up, and I wanted to get back into that through something that I know best, which is skincare. And Klimmer is a wellness-driven amenities range, which over the next few months will be popping up in different hotels, and early in the new year we'll be doing a big sort of retail launch for public. So stay tuned.
Fantastic. I can't wait. It sounds like it's right up my alley too. So that's fantastic.
I genuinely, appreciate having the opportunity to share my story, because that's how I feel that I can be of value to others. It's no good keeping it and keeping it all for myself. But I think hopefully if one or two people get something out of our conversation today, we'll be happy.
Such an inspiring story. And if you would like to donate to the Michael Klim Foundation, links to his web pages will be posted in the show notes below. You can also find a link to his new book, Klim, and keep an eye out for his exciting new amenities range, Klimmer. Thanks for listening to Jules FM. If something here inspired you, hit follow and share it with someone chasing their dream. Until next time.